welcome back to the Baker's Almanac. If you're new, thank you so much for stopping by, and make sure to hit that subscribe button. Here on my blog and also my videos, I share lots of delicious recipes and baking tips for you all, and I want to make sure that you have all the tools in your disposal to really make the most delicious desserts possible. Today we're going to be making a new recipe I featured on my blog for pumpkin cranberry scones. These are just the perfect fall dessert. They're amazing if you enjoy them cuddled up on the couch with a snuggly blanket and a fall candle burning. And they're really easy to make, so I'm just going to show you step by step what to do. And along the way, I thought I would provide some tips and tricks when it comes to making scones. When I made my first scones a couple years ago, I was a little intimidated because they seem a bit challenging, but I promise you they're not. So I'm going to tell you all the helpful tricks I have learned along the way that guarantee perfect scones in the end. So let's get started baking. You can grab the recipe by going to the description box below, and I'll also give the link to the recipe on my website. And I am so excited for you to see how good these turn out.
Alright, so we're going to start by combining all the dry ingredients. So the flour, brown sugar, baking powder, cinnamon, pumpkin pie spice, and salt in a bowl. Whisk that together, and then you're going to cut in your butter. When making scones, you want to make sure the butter is as cold as possible. And this is actually because it's going to release some steam and melt while it's baking, and so you want it to stay cold. So I keep it in the fridge right until I'm going to cut it in with my pastry cutter. On that note, if you don't have a pastry cutter, I highly recommend picking one up. I'll leave a link in the description box below if you want to grab one, but it's really helpful for cutting in the butter. And for when making scones, I like to make sure the butter is about lentil sized. And I'll show you that looks like here. But you just want to make sure it's distributed evenly throughout the flour and that it's roughly all the same small size like this. So that's ready. I'm going to now turn to whisking together my liquid ingredients. So in a separate bowl, you're going to combine the pumpkin puree, an egg, vanilla extract, and then heavy cream. So whisk all of that together, and then you're going to add that directly into the other mixture that we have. To get perfect scones, you want to make sure not to overmix the dough. If you do, it's going to develop too much gluten and be kind of tough and chewy in nature. And you want scones that are crumbly and light and really just not too chewy, you know? So I'm going to mix it just until combined. Even if there's a little bit of flour left, that's totally fine. And then I'm going to add the dried cranberries in at the very end, and then just continue mixing until it's just combined. I switched to using my hands just so that I can get a better feel for the dough, and this looks great to me. So I'm going to transfer it to a sheet tray lined with parchment paper, and just pat the dough directly into a circle, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. If you notice it's giving you trouble and it's a bit sticky, you can always sprinkle a little bit of flour on top of the dough just to make it more manageable. I like to cut my scones into 8, so I grab a bench scraper or a knife and just cut it into 8 even slices like this. And then to let the dough rest before baking, to let the gluten rest and just for it to firm up a little bit, I like to refrigerate my scones for about 30 minutes before they go in the oven. You can also do this in the freezer, but I don't have space in my freezer, living in a tiny apartment. So after that time has passed, the scones are ready for the oven. So what I like to do here then is grab a brush and some heavy cream and directly brush the heavy cream on top of all the scones. This is going to give it a beautiful golden color, and it's also useful for the next step. This is optional, but I personally like to actually sprinkle some turbinado sugar on top. This is raw cane sugar. And this is going to give the scones a delicious crunch, and it's also going to make them look shiny and sparkly on top, which we like. So these are ready for the oven now. I'm going to bake them at 400 degrees for about 25 to 28 minutes. You're really looking for them to be golden brown, and on the sides you want them to be not doughy looking. They should be nice and firm. You can also tell if a toothpick comes out clean, that means they're good to go. So while they're baking, I'm going to make a spiced glaze by just whisking together some powdered sugar, pumpkin pie spice, and milk. You're gonna pour this on top of the scones while they're still hot from the oven. And this is because if they're still warm, the spiced glaze is actually gonna soak in a little bit and taste even more delicious. So just generously drizzle that on top. The more the better, honestly. And the scones are good to go. Try not to eat them while they're too hot, but they are best served immediately. But you can keep these for a couple of days if sealed in a tightly sealed bag. I hope you enjoy.
Alright, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you enjoyed making these pumpkin cranberry scones with me. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and stay tuned for lots of future videos coming soon. Thanks again for the support, and I'll see you in the next video.